of the 2026 Annual Town Meeting will please come to order. Town meeting members, if you could come into the hall as quickly and quietly as possible. I want to welcome our special guests tonight, families, parents, high school students. We're thrilled that you're here. I'm going to do a couple of announcements and then we'll go into a recess for our special presentation. So this is a hybrid meeting utilizing virtual meeting technology, including Zoom for remote participants and a web-based portal for voting and queuing to speak for all of our town meeting participants, remote and in person. The entire meeting is being broadcast live on Astound, that's formerly RCN, Channel 15, Channel 1125, and in high def on 629. Also on Verizon Channel 37, Comcast Channel 22, and live streaming on LexMedia.org's website on their government live stream. Members of the public may follow the proceedings on cable TV, on LexMedia, or by viewing the proceedings from Batten Hall, where we have seating up in the balcony for this purpose. Those members of the public who wish to provide statements for or against a motion on the floor should identify themselves to the staff member in the public balcony. That person will place you in the queue and facilitate the process of seeking to be recognized by the moderator. You'll be called on as time and parliamentary rules allow. Members of the public have also had the opportunity to submit written statements on the town's website on the page dedicated to this annual town meeting and may continue to do so during the meeting. Those statements also will be entered into the queue and read as time and parliamentary rules allow. Please turn off all cell phones at this time and any other wireless devices. And if you have to leave or re-enter the hall, just do so as quietly as possible because sound really travels. For town meeting members participating in person, if at any time you're having technical difficulty with your tablet, please stand in place and raise your hand so a staff person can assist you. For town meeting members participating remotely, if you're having technical difficulties, call the helpline at 781-876-0093. I will now call for a recess for a special student honors presentation. We are in recess.
See, I'm a rookie again. Good evening, everyone. I'm State Representative Michelle Socolo, and I'm thrilled to be here this evening to celebrate some very special students in our community. What we're doing tonight is an award ceremony that...
Recording in progress.
...that was originally started by my predecessor, Representative Jay Kaufman. We used to call it the Town Meeting Awards, and nobody quite knew why we called it the Town Meeting Awards. And in reflecting on that, it's clear that what we are honoring our students for is their efforts at building community within their respective high schools. These are very special students who go above and beyond, and all of them have achieved academically and stand out in that fashion, but more importantly, they stand out for their efforts to bring other people together, to knit our communities closer and support their fellow students. And that's why these are very special awards. So last year we rebadged the award to the Community Builders Awards, and we do a longer ceremony now downstairs where we go through the bio of what each student has done during their high school experience and really try to make sure that we celebrate all of their efforts and what they've done. So if people want to see the longer slideshow, we'll post it on the town meeting members list at some point. But what we're going to do is have each of the schools, we have both, this year we have both Lexington High School and Minuteman students being honored. And we'll call up one school at a time. Our two principals will say hello and read the names of the students that received the awards. And they already have their citation from me, so they're just going to step forward or wave and acknowledge so you know what they look like and you can congratulate them again. Parents are here with us, and we thank them for being here as well. I guess I should just say that the students were chosen by their guidance counselors. So this is a very special and unusual award because we really look to find those students that go above and beyond in making our communities better and brighter. So with that, we'll call up Andrew Baker, and here you are in the audience here. Principal Andrew Baker, and then after that, Principal Paul DeLiva. But first, we'll bring up the Lexington students, and we're going to cycle through their names on the slideshow.
So you'll just give a wave and I'll say your name and a couple of nice things about you so the town meeting members know. So first up, Margaret. Oh, no, sorry. Oh, there. We're going in a different order on this slideshow. That's okay. All right. Thayer DeSerbo. Thayer, what makes Thayer stand out is the combination of empathy, initiative, and grit. She not only performs athletically and academically, but she intentionally seeks to make her environment better for others. She clearly demonstrates a pattern of leadership, community, service, and commitment. Give a wave there. Next slide, please. Margaret Erdon. Margaret is one of the most impressive, healthy, and well-rounded students. She has the insight and drive to succeed exceedingly well in all her academic, athletic, and extracurricular activities while effectively prioritizing what matters most. Margaret. Juliana Matherin is an observant young woman who approaches life with passion, confidence, and care for others. She has a natural maturity and leadership presence which brings her to academic, athletic, and community endeavors. Thank you, Juliana. Owen Rosenthal couldn't be here this evening. He's coming back from Florida, but here's what I know about Owen. He turns challenges into opportunities, building a path marked by resilience and passion. He has not only done well academically, but also shown real commitment in his extracurricular activities and personal growth. The heart of Owen's story is his kindness and genuine desire to make the world better for others, whether through small gestures or significant advocacy efforts, even on the state level. Owen consistently puts others before himself. If I could get a round of applause for Owen. Natalie Hahn. Natalie is one of those remarkable students who leaves an indelible impression on everyone she meets. Her tireless dedication, collaborative spirit, and profound sense of empathy make her not only a standout student, but also a transformative individual. She shared that her goal in life is to help as many people as possible, while also making a meaningful impact on each person she meets. What a wonderful sentiment, Natalie. Next up is Claire Sue. Claire has a genuine love of learning and desire to give back to her community, coupled with the persistence to achieve her goals. She's driven by her commitments to understanding and uplifting those around her, especially those who have been marginalized. Empathy, creativity, and a willingness to speak up for her beliefs are just a few of Claire's qualities. Anika Singh. Anika is a student whose curiosity, determination, and diligence define her academic and personal journey. She has grown into a thoughtful, reflective, resilient learner who pushes herself to engage deeply with her studies while also building meaningful connections in her community. Glenn Huang. Glenn has a quiet yet strong presence and dependability that is the foundation of who he is. Whether he's making a statement through fashion or dedicating his time to community service, Glenn can always be someone to follow through on his commitments. His empathy shines during his interactions with others as he strives to support his community and marginalized individuals. Sophia Salabi. Sophia embodies the qualities of a dedicated student. She's reliable, consistently meeting deadlines and following through on her commitments, even under pressure. These personal attributes have helped her build strong relationships in and outside of school, making her a valued member of our community. Her ability to balance high academic achievement while positively impacting the school culture is truly exceptional. I think that's the last of our LHS students, and the reason that I know that they are community builders is that these are exactly the students who we're going to deeply miss at LHS next year, but who I know will enrich the communities that you're going on to. One more round of applause for these students. Thank you.
Thank you. Boy, that was awesome. The enthusiasm of the town meeting members is wonderful. Okay, as we let the Lexington High School students exit the stage, we're going to call up the Minuteman students and Principal Paul DeLeva, and he will similarly read through the names of the students who received the award from Minuteman.
Before I read the names, I want to thank everyone for this community building honor. It's really great to spend time and have our counterpart, Lexington High School, be part of this as well and share this within the Lexington community. Oh, I guess we are going backwards a little bit, yeah. Alex Filciletti has been a valued member of Minuteman community, particularly within the Minuteman multimedia program. As a student, Alex consistently demonstrates creativity, responsibility, and a strong commitment to both academic and school-wide initiatives. Congratulations, Alex. Jasper Haas unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but Jasper has been an outstanding member of the Minuteman community, particularly through his work in the computer programming and cybersecurity program, and his active involvement in our Skills USA program. Jasper consistently demonstrates strong technical ability for problem-solving skills and commitment to excellence in his field. Congratulations, Jasper. Annika Kapler, who was here but had to leave because she had another community engagement, has been a valued and positive member of the Minuteman community, particularly through her work in design and visual communications program. Annika consistently demonstrates creativity, attention to detail, and a strong commitment to producing high-quality work. Congratulations, Annika. David Manuel has been an exceptional member of the Minuteman community, particularly through his work in computer programming and cybersecurity program, and his leadership skills as a Skills USA officer. David consistently demonstrates strong technical skills, critical thinking, and a commitment to excellence in his field. Congratulations, David. Isabel Tiexera has been a valued member of the Minuteman community through her work in cosmetology program. She consistently demonstrates professionalism, compassion, and a strong commitment to serving others. She also works with our elderly that come in to get aesthetics, and she has a nice, kind way of working with those community members. So, very honored, Isabel. Griffin Warren has made meaningful contributions to the Minuteman community through his work in design and visual communications program. He brings a thoughtful and innovative approach to his projects, using design as a tool to inform, engage, and support all our school initiatives. Congratulations, Griffin. And Ryan Williams has been a dedicated and supported member of the Minuteman community through his work in the multimedia program and his willingness to volunteer his time to support school initiatives. Ryan consistently demonstrates creativity, responsibility, and a strong commitment to contributing in our school in many meaningful ways. Congratulations, Ryan.
Okay, a final round of applause for these amazing students. And that concludes our ceremony. Thank you all for participating.
We are back in session. Okay, folks, at this time, let's take attendance. So wake up those tablets. Folks who are remote, make sure you've logged into the portal. For purposes of attendance, it doesn't matter how you vote, but please press yes, no, or abstain, and press the blue cast your vote button, and make sure you get the proper feedback that indicates that your vote has been received and that you've been recorded as in attendance. Does anyone need to indicate attendance by voice? Just get to a microphone, Ms. Rhodes. Okay. Ms. Rhodes, we see that you're here. What precinct are you in? Precinct 9, Ms. Rhodes in Precinct 9. And could we get some technical assistance on that microphone? We're going to need it. Yes.
Precinct 1, Christina Burwell, I'm here.
Precinct 1, Christina Burwell is here. Folks who are remote, if you need to vote or register your attendance by voice, please unmute yourself. Don't raise your hand in Zoom. We don't monitor that. Unmute yourself and get our attention. Okay, I'm going to leave that attendance vote open while I ask Ms. Hay for an announcement of the Select Board.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just wanted to inform all of Town Meeting that we have at last found a date that will work for the summit meeting for almost all participants. And we will be using the date that we are all currently holding for a potential town meeting on April 27th. So at 7:30, April 27th, we will meet here. The moderator has graciously agreed that we will call the meeting to order and immediately recess, as we did for the high school program. The summit will take place. You are all encouraged to either be here in person or listen online. You can all hear the conversation. And then time permitting, when the summit ends, we will move on to business of town meeting the same evening. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. Thank you. Thanks for noticing that. Could we expand the voting screen? Okay, terrific. All right. So let's close the voting screen. I see that we have a quorum. The meeting's now open on Article 2. This remains open throughout the meeting so we can receive reports of boards and committees. Ms. Hay, for a motion to receive the report of the Select Board and place it on file. Ms. Hay.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Are there any objections to that motion? Seeing none, the motion carries. Ms. Hay, I'd like a motion to next take up Articles 23 and 31.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I so move.
Is there any objection to that? Motion carries. The meeting's now open on Article 23, appropriate for trash recycling bins. The motion is the one that will soon be before you. Excellent, perfect. Dated March 12th, 2026, and on file with the town clerk. Mr. Sandine for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Thank you. And now we'll view the video presentation.
Hello, my name is Maggie Peard, the Town Sustainability and Resilience Officer, and I'll be presenting on Article 23, an appropriation for trash and recycling carts. Article 23 asks town meeting members to appropriate $1,204,000 to purchase recycling and trash wheeled carts for all households served by the Municipal Solid Waste Program, excluding residents in housing served by a dumpster rather than individual bins. The article also underscores the town's commitment to find a solution for collecting and recycling residents' existing bins, a solution that results in the collected materials, both hard plastics and metal, being repurposed into new products as opposed to ending up in a landfill or incinerator. This article is stemming from years of work from the Waste Reduction Task Force that has resulted in the task force bringing forward a series of recommended changes to the waste collection system in Lexington to reduce waste and protect against rising costs. Following the creation of the town's zero waste plan, plenty of community input, and expertise from Mass DEP, the Waste Reduction Task Force has come up with a series of changes to the waste collection program, which are shown on this slide. The recommendations include expanding the town's food waste diversion programs, moving to automated collection with standard bins provided to all households, setting up systems to handle and reduce excess waste beyond the provided bins, implementing a fee structure for bulky item disposal, and creating more accessible diversion opportunities. The details of these proposals were discussed more thoroughly in the presentation for Article 30 and at www.lexingtonma.gov/zero-waste. This presentation will remain focused on the move to automated collection with standard bins. If you are not familiar with automated collection, it is the use of a mechanized arm on a trash truck to lift bins and empty them into the truck. This is opposed to manual collection, where waste haulers themselves get out of the truck and manually empty trash bins into the truck. There are many benefits to moving to automated collection, and the reality is that it may soon be the only option to the town, as haulers are phasing out manual collection. The last time the town went out to bid for a waste collection contract, it received only 2 manual collection proposals, and haulers indicated they are phasing out this option. Automated collection has been shown to be more efficient, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and costs. It requires less idling and can increase the number of households served per truck per hour by up to 300%. It's also increased safety for haulers, which is notable given that trash hauler was the 4th deadliest job in 2023. A key feature of automated collection for this article is that it requires standard waste carts. In order for the town to move to automated collection, we would have to purchase trash and recycling carts for all households served by the municipal waste program, excluding those who live in housing served by a dumpster rather than individual bins. These new bins would have wheels to make moving them over a range of surfaces easy, regardless of the weight of the waste. They would have lids, which would help keep waste out of the streets on windy days, and they would meet hauler requirements to be able to withstand the force of the automated arm, which means that they will be very sturdy to better withstand use, weather, and more. The size of the bins have yet to be determined. This is a key piece of the larger program design that is informed by continued outreach to the community. Important to note is that the trash and recycling bins do not need to be the same size. And in fact, there are benefits to having a larger recycling bin, given the bulky size of some recyclables, and to ensure there is never a disincentive to recycle. The Waste Reduction Task Force is also taking into account learnings from neighboring towns and guidance from Mass DEP. Mass DEP recommends a 35-gallon bin. Accordingly, the agency would provide up to $300,000 in grant funding to offset this appropriation if we went with 35-gallon bins. They also award additional recycling dividend program funding each year to communities with 35-gallon bins. Ultimately, the bin size choice would be approved by the Select Board as part of the full waste program implementation plan. A common question that comes up in the transition to automated collection is, what do we do with our existing trash bins? Like other towns, we would coordinate a collection of unwanted bins for recycling. The town would look for a recycling solution that results in the collected materials, both hard plastics and metal, being repurposed into new products, not ending up in a landfill or incinerator. Households could also choose to keep and reuse their existing bins for yard waste containers. If Article 23 passes, this is far from the last time the community would have a chance to weigh in on the overall program development and the size of bins. The Waste Reduction Task Force will continue its community outreach to inform our proposed program design with support from Mass DEP. The Select Board would vote on the program design, which would provide another opportunity for the community to weigh in. If a program design is approved, the town would apply for a Mass DEP grant to support program rollout. We would also apply for the $300,000 bin offset grant if the decision was made to go with 35-gallon bins. If everything is approved, staff would work with our hauler to prepare for the switch to automated collection, including the delivery of bins to households, for a July 2027 start date. As stated throughout this presentation, community input will remain central to this process. Already, the Waste Reduction Task Force has hosted over 12 community forums and presentations. One was made to go with 35-gallon bin size. Including the delivery of bins, dozens of direct emails, phone calls, and conversations with July 2020. We have collaborated closely with committees
Can we pause,
and community
please?
organizations.
Can we pause, and Mr. Pato, could you figure out who to mute in Zoom? Let's try again.
To gather additional feedback and inform the public about the process. Information has been available on the town website, sent out in various newsletters, and as stated throughout this presentation, community input will remain.
Is it possible that we have the video on in 2 tabs? That would be great. Ms. Peart, could you just read the rest of the presentation? Thanks.
If I can, see it up on the screen. All right, I think you heard part of that. We have done a whole lot of community outreach. We've done 12 plus forums and presentations to community groups, committees, and partnered with other organizations. We've done dozens of direct emails, phone calls, and conversations with individual residents. There's been information on the town newsletter and through social media, and all of that community outreach will remain beyond tonight. This will not be the last time that we're talking to the community about this process. And then the last slide, I think, is just a thank you. So we got through most of it.
Thank you. Thanks very much. All right, Mr. Sandin for the Select Board.
Madam Moderator, Article 23 seeks to appropriate $1,204,000 for the purpose of recycling trash and recycling and trash wheeled carts for all households served by Lexington's municipal solid waste program. The collection and disposal industry is shifting to automated collection. This appropriation will ensure that the town has time to finalize program design, purchase bins, provide appropriate education and communication to Lexington residents, and additionally, the motion urges the town to find a solution to collect, recycle, repurpose any unwanted existing bins into new products. Approval of this motion enables town staff and the Waste Reduction Task Force to develop a recommendation on bin sizes and other aspects of the final program design. The Select Board has requested that any proposed program include consideration for financial hardship and accommodations for those with disabilities, and the Select Board vote is required to approve the final program design. The Select Board unanimously supports approval of Article 23.
Thank you. For the Capital Expenditures Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Capital Expenditures Committee is unanimously in favor of this article, 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Ahuja for the Appropriation Committee.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee unanimously recommends approval of Article 23.
Thank you. For the Sustainable Lexington Committee, Ms. Ahrens.
Madam Moderator, the Sustainable Lexington Committee strongly supports Articles 23 and 31 as a coordinated approach to modernizing Lexington's waste system and managing costs. Article 23's appropriation enables the transition to standardized bins and automated collection, proven steps to improve efficiency and safety, expand recycling and composting, and enable more choices for competitive contract negotiations. Article 31 is an essential policy framework that makes these improvements effective. It updates outdated bylaw language that treats disposal as free, allowing flexible fee structures that incentivize waste and cost reduction. Approving these articles are critical for the following reasons. 1, rising costs. Trash and recycling, hauling, and disposal costs are rising significantly, with a 67% increase in just the last 5 years and a budgeted cost of $4.2 million for fiscal year 2027, or $360 per Lexington household. The proposed articles provide a practical, affordable, and inclusive path forward that aims to work for most residents with accommodations where needed for mobility issues and other special needs while mitigating sharp cost increases. 2, market reality. Most waste haulers in Massachusetts now offer only automated waste collection. Only 3 other towns in our 20-mile radius are still under manual waste collection contract, and Lexington has had only 2 bids for manual waste contracts in fiscal year 2024. Moving to an automated system will provide more choices for competitive contract negotiation. Recent contract bid data from Arlington shows that automated bids ran at least $1.8 million less annually compared to manual ones. 3, grant funding. Grant money from Mass DEP, as you heard, and other sources could offset the town's cost of procuring those standardized bins. 4, trash reduction. Data from Mass DEP shows that pay-as-you-throw and pay-as-you-throw type systems are highly effective in reducing residential trash. Nearly half of Massachusetts municipalities charge residents trash disposal fees, many charging for every bag or bin, and they generate 30% less trash on average than municipalities without this type of system. And finally, an equity-conscious design. A 2025 audit of trash amounts from 1,400 plus Lexington households performed by the Waste Reduction Task Force shows that a hybrid pay-as-you-throw type system where fees are only assessed above a certain amount of trash is likely to have no cost impact on a large majority of households. Without the changes proposed in both of these articles, Lexington would lack the most effective tools to reduce waste volumes and control escalating costs, forcing either higher taxes or blunt limits on service. Together, Articles 23 and 31 create a balanced, modernized infrastructure paired with smart incentives to reduce waste, protecting taxpayers, reducing environmental and health impacts, and positioning Lexington for a more sustainable future.
Thank you. Ms. Goldberg with a question.
Madam Moderator, Rita Goldberg, Precinct 2. This is a question that I think may have been asked by another person on this list during the exchanges online. And it's really that there's, in my mind, there's still quite a bit of confusion about recyclables, a question I think that Kathleen Lenehan may have raised. And that is that if we all remember the huge monster that was built in front of the Monroe Center of the Arts for our 250th anniversary, it was built entirely of non-recyclable plastics. And I went to the Massachusetts site for this and discovered that many of those things now seemed recyclable. So I'm hoping that when this, and I'm totally in favor of this proposal, that when it comes into action, we will have much more information about what's recyclable and what's not. So I just wondered if someone could respond to that. I don't know exactly who it would be.
Ms. Peard.
Sure, I'm happy to respond to that.
Absolutely, recycling education is a key thing to pair with all of this work we're doing. The town is getting ready to launch both a mobile app and a website widget that will have a search tool. You can look for an item and it can tell you the best path to dispose of that. That already exists at the state level, but this version will include more localized information about Lexington programs. And so that's one aspect, and absolutely we'll continue to pair other recycling education with this rollout.
Ms. Goldberg.
Well, through you, Madam Moderator, thank you. That was very reassuring because even the numbers on the bottom of these containers are often illegible, as you know, so anything in that direction would be great. I was going to ask a question which I know is irrelevant, which was simply what happens to the people who work in these industries when it goes completely automated. That's not really relevant to our case now, but it's a question I have in the back of my mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Laura Swain in the yes line.
Laura Swain, Precinct 2. I am also board president of Lexington Zero Waste Collaborative and a waste reduction task force member. I was going to read a note from a constituent, but I think all her points have actually already been said. So, one thing I wanted to say is that many members here have asked about the details of a trash metering type program. So I wanted to kind of share what I know. First is that the Waste Reduction Task Force is looking at a program in which the first barrel or bin remains part of our taxes. So no change there. We can all do that. The Waste Reduction Task Force is also indicated that it's likely there will be a fee for a second barrel if you need one. Other towns have set this fee at somewhere between $150 to $300. So we are no different. We will likely be in that range. Finally, there will likely be an option for people or households that have an occasional need for an extra bag to maybe place on top of your bin or put in your neighbor's bin even. Just an idea, but but for an additional bin, many towns require you to buy a whole bunch of bags at once or buy one bag for $3. So that's another piece of information you can put in your head as to what this program might be like. Finally, the Waste Reduction Task Force is working with the Select Board and the Commission on Disability to figure out a way so that households of both low income or members, people with a disability who are not able to meet these requirements, pay the fees, fit their waste in one bin, will have an opportunity to have their needs met. So to me, that's a pretty simple program. More than half the communities in Massachusetts have done it. The only one who's done it and then rejected it is a community where we live, and it's embarrassing.
Thank you. Todd Berger in the no line.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Todd Berger, Precinct 9. For those of you that know me well, you may wonder what the heck I am doing in the no line for Article 23. It won't solve the mystery to hear that I support all of the goals of this article, and I truly appreciate the work of town staff and volunteers that crafted Article 23. Despite all that, I'm standing here in firm opposition and will be voting no on Article 23. The problem is that this article leaves out some key implementation details. So over the last 6 weeks, I communicated with those involved in creating the article to understand how the town would likely finalize those details. I honestly did not like hearing what I learned, but it may help you to hear what I learned and decide how to vote tonight. The town's plan will almost certainly require all residents to dispose of or find alternate uses for their current trash barrels, even if they are machine dumpable type, even if they are brand new, even if they are more durable than the ones the town intends to provide. So if you purchase machine dumpable pails like the Toter Wheel barrels sold in our local hardware store, you will likely see them unnecessarily recycled as they will no longer be accepted by the town. That means Lexington will send somewhere between 40,000 and 140,000 pounds of plastic to be recycled and possibly incinerated for no good reason. Is this avoidable? Yes. Can we transition to machine dumpable pails without creating this large one-time waste stream? Yes. But it gets worse. The town is considering replacing those good toter barrels with the ones made by a company called Otto, whose barrels typically last half as long. Yes, the Otto barrels are cheaper, but not over the long run. On top of that, the town is not committed to a barrel tagging mechanism, it's an RFID tag I'm referring to, that would automate future trash barrel collection compliance efforts and eliminate the need for pail uniformity. So in conclusion, I would like to see the town come back to town meeting in the near future with a similar but more detailed request that adopts a barrel tagging system, ensures acceptance of all machine dumpable barrels currently in use, and avoids unnecessary plastic waste both at the outset and over the next decade. There is a better path to ultimately reducing trash waste in our town. Please vote no on Article 23. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Falcone in the public balcony.
Hi, Andrea Falcone, 8 Circle Road. I'm a mom of 2 middle schoolers, also a dog owner. I think we're pretty, average people with average amounts of trash. And I just wanted to talk about how I thought this might affect me. I'd be excited to have uniform barrels for my home, for my neighborhood. I did a little survey walking my dog today. Everybody had pretty standard trash barrels, all their trash fit inside. There were no trash bags on the road, so that made me feel pretty good, like this was the right thing to do. To the previous speaker's point, Todd's point, actually a bunch of Lexingtonians received beautiful free barrels from our neighbors in Arlington when they recently switched. They were all over, the everything's free, people are giving them away, so I think there's a perfect recycling opportunity for neighboring towns who haven't made the switch yet for our purchased barrels to head over to our neighbors. I wanted to point out that the article that we're currently looking at is just for the option to purchase these barrels outright. It may or may not be necessary. It could be part of a hauling contract. This gives the people who are negotiating our future trash contracts the opportunity to have a bargaining chip where we already own them and don't need to pay more as part of a contract. So I think I want to put the trust in those making the negotiations so that they can have the best tools possible to do their job effectively. So I'd like to urge people to vote yes for Article 23.
Thank you, Ms. Falcone. Mr. Shine with a question.
Ken Shine, Precinct 2. Through you, Madam Moderator, to the presenter. In the presentation, it says the bin size have yet to be determined. I assume that different bins of different sizes would have different prices. Is that correct?
Ms. Peard.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Shine.
Through you, Madam Moderator. I guess I'm a little confused that the article asks for a specific amount of money, and I would assume that if the bin size hasn't been chosen, then the final price is not known.
Ms. Peard.
The appropriation is based off of 65-gallon trash carts, which is the largest we foresee needing in Lexington, and smaller bins cost less, so there would still be flexibility to choose the sizing, and we think that would be sufficient for any bin size that we purchase.
Mr. Shine.
Through you, Madam Moderator, I'll ask, I'm sorry, a silly question. So then, what would happen to any extra money that was not spent? I'm sorry, I'd like to repeat. I'm just trying to understand, if less than the $1.2 million are spent, what would happen to the extra money?
Ms. Kosanoff.
Madam Moderator, this is an appropriation from free cash, so any unused funds would be returned to the general fund.
Mr. Shine.
Thank you. I have one more question. In the presentation, it noted that only 2 companies are currently picking up the non-automated barrels. When we choose the barrels, how many companies would be available to bid, and do all those companies use the same barrel type?
Ms. Peard.
Sure. So the first piece of that is kind of the pool of haulers. Certainly, trash haulers are consolidating. We've seen some purchases of one company from another. We'd estimate there's about 5 kind of large companies that operate in Massachusetts that we would expect to see bids on the hauling contract. And then in terms of the bin or cart purchase, there are about 4 companies that are on the state contract that we would likely explore their bins. We have not decided on the brand of bin. Did that answer your question?
Mr. Schein.
To clarify, I'm trying to understand that if we choose a bin type, are we then locked into one or a small amount of contractors out of the pool of contractors?
Ms. Peard.
I see. No, so one of the benefits of doing this purchase outright and having the town own the bins we would be able to vet which bin we want and which brand, and that would not depend on which hauler we go with. If this was not appropriated, we may in the future be pushed into moving to automated collection, and the hauler would likely purchase those bins for the town and amortize that amount over the course of the contract. Then we may have less flexibility on which bins or the price of those bins.
Mr. Schein.
Thank you.
Ms. Sykes in the yes line.
Nicholas Sykes, Precinct 8. I think that it seems like there's a little bit of confusion between what this article is actually asking for versus the bigger question. So this article is simply asking us to appropriate money for automated trash carts to allow the town to move to automated trash collection. From everything that I have seen, automated trash collection over the long term is going to be significantly less expensive than the manual trash collection. There was also in Arlington, right around the time when they switched from manual to automated trash collection, there was a strike of the trash collectors, and there were also a number of days when they weren't able to work because the temperatures were so high. So I think that automated trash collection is definitely the path forward. We are being asked by people in this town to look at ways for saving money given the Bloom expenses and the changes in health insurance and everything that we're doing for teachers. So this seems to me like a very straightforward way to save our town a significant amount of money going forward. And I understand that there's a lot of details still to be worked out, but I think that the overall point of this article is very worthy, and it seems like the people involved in considering all the details have done good community outreach and will continue to do so. So I am firmly in the yes camp. Thank you.
Thank you. Vita Hom in the no line. Ms. Hom? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Vita Batterina Home, Precinct 7. Madam Moderator, through you. Since 1977, I have been composting kitchen scraps, cardboard, etc. in my backyard. I have been practicing reduce, reuse, recycle before it became a catchphrase. I do not need to be incentivized to do this. If there are overusers, target them. Most weeks, we reduce our garbage to only half full of this kitchen garbage bag. When this is half full, I am able to carry safely the contents to the curb. Most weeks, the proposed bins are large and heavy, and are made of more plastic. They are unnecessary. I have seen sanitation personnel dispose of my little bag in less than 10 seconds. Article 23 would require me to carry this bag inside a bin to the curb so a machine could empty it. Many people have balance issues and other medical problems. Osteoarthritis and other medical problems would make it difficult to haul a large trash bin to curbside, even more difficult in winter. I am sure that there are many seniors and disabled taxpayers who share these predicaments. Bringing a large trash bin to the end of the driveway is a dangerous proposition. Injuries can incapacitate a person. Medical bills and the inability to work will drain life savings and can cause the loss of one's house. Seniors will not be able to pay Lexington taxes, including debt service. Residents will end up keeping the bin by the curb all week, as I have observed from other towns. How does this article incentivize me to lessen my trash? $1 million+ to acquire trash bins that are dangerous for me and others is $1 million+ reasons for me to vote no. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holm. Ms. Gutag in the public line.
Madam Moderator, thank you for letting me speak. I live across from the bike path and public land, and I would like to describe the experience of living with pay-as-you-throw 20 years ago. At that time, I was not disabled, and I took the time to go and remove multiple trash barrels worth of trash from public land. I had a deal with a FIS custodian who allowed me to actually take the public trash to their trailer or to their dumpster instead of having to pay to dispose of it. The problem with limiting people by force, by making them pay for disposal of trash, is going to create a lot of problems for people who live next to public lands. And I agree with Ms. Hahn that I certainly don't like 65-gallon trash barrels having to be moved to the curb. If you do decide to go to automated trash collection, please do not fund anything that does not allow multiple size barrels. And that also speaks to the amount of trash that some people produce. If somebody has a very serious medical condition, depending on the time of the month, the time of the year, the time whatever, they may produce more trash. And particularly when you have medical difficulties, you know that your bills are hitting you left, right, and center, having to then also pay additional money for more trash, which you cannot help yourself. I would strongly urge the committee who's come up with this proposal, which I think the goals are laudable, and I certainly am a serious recycler, but please first focus on educating the public, and that means going to door to people who put out 7 trash barrels full of trash that's overflowing. Let's try to educate people before we start charging people for producing trash that some families may or may not be able to avoid. The other people that may have problems are people with larger families, and if you do instigate pay-as-you-throw, please do it based on occupancy of properties, not on the address. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kaufman with a question.
Hi, Steve Kaufman, Precinct 5, through you, Madam Moderator. First to the Select Board. What is the estimated annual savings in the trash removal by moving to automated versus the current system?
Mr. Sandin.
Madam Moderator, could you recognize the Director of the Department of Public Works, David Pinsino?
With pleasure, Mr. Pinsino.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Pensnow.
When we looked at Arlington, they saved about $9 million over the course of their contract, a 5-year contract. What they found is the price of manual collection was significantly more than automated collection. So that's one community that we have looked at that had fairly recent bids on that.
Mr. Kaufman.
Okay. My second question, given the history that 20 years ago there was an attempt to do pay-as-you-throw and that there was a town vote against it, we've had 20 years to look at alternatives. What is the reason this year this is coming up and we haven't done it for 20 years prior? To the Select Board, please.
Mr. Sandin.
Madam Moderator, I think the answer is that we are seeing significant changes in the way that trash is being handled. We're seeing incinerators shut down. We're seeing landfills fill up. We're seeing China stopping to take a significant amount of trash. All of these things have significant upturns in terms of the cost of managing our trash. So from a fiscal responsibility perspective, we're seeing that the Select Board needs to take action to lower our costs as a town for this rapidly, much faster than Proposition 2.5 would allow, rising budget line.
Mr. Kaufman.
Okay. Then I have a question about the dual goals of this initiative. It seems one goal is to save money through automation, but a second goal is to reduce. One goal is to save money through automation. The second goal is to reduce the amount of solid waste through smaller trash receptacles to encourage people to use composting and recycling. I guess my personal experience with this last year, one of these robotic arms destroyed my trash bin and I had to go buy one. I tried to buy a 35-gallon bin. I took it home. I put one trash bag in it and it was full. And I was like, I can't use this thing because I usually have more than one garbage bag, even though I recycle a ton. So I had to go back and buy the larger bin, the 48-gallon bin. Yet it's not clear to me whether you're going to consider the larger bins or the smaller bins. All the photos you showed were of 48-gallon bins, but there's significant discussion about a 35-gallon bin. So my question is, how are you going to decide the bin size? And the part two of that is, you've heard from disabled people that it's very challenging for them to deal with a larger bin. So you have some people in the community that would prefer a larger bin because of waste, some people in the community that need a smaller bin or no bin because of disability. How are you going to come to resolution, and how can we make a decision about this without understanding the plan?
Mr. Sandin.
Madam Moderator, this has been discussed at the Select Board on a number of occasions, and the Select Board has asked for flexibility in terms of how this program would roll out, in terms of allowing the types of sizes that you have discussed, where if we pick, say, a 48-gallon bin for the large community, that it would be possible for people who have smaller needs to use the smaller bins.
Mr. Kaufman.
Okay, finally, I don't know if we heard from the Disability Committee if there is such a thing. I don't know if we heard from the Disability Committee. Mr. Rossi, is he able to speak to his concerns? Or?
Sure. Mr. Rossi.
Point of order, also, Madam Moderator. I am confused. It's my understanding that pay-as-you-throw would be discussed under the auspices of Article 31, yet I heard that referred to and fees referred to as part of the presentation for this article. Is a vote, a yes vote, on Article 23 in any way opening the door to fees unbeknownst to the voter?
No, but it was, in order to give town meeting members the full context, it made sense for the presentation to talk about how the two articles work together. But this one is simply to appropriate money to purchase barrels.
Okay, so if Mr. Kaufman would repeat the question.
Well,
so my question to Mr. Rossi is, can you please talk about the impact of this proposal on the disabled community, and specifically, what is the challenge to them to deal with, what is the challenge to the disabled community to deal with this proposal in terms of all the issues that it might come up for them, and what are your thoughts?
Madam Moderator?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Rossi. Do you want to do your presentation now instead of waiting until Article 31?
No, because I believe the question goes to the issue of these bins and the new system that would accompany these bins, divorced from any issues of fees. And I believe the answer to that is, on the commission, and also individually, I've spoken with many people, like people who have already spoken tonight, that have big concerns about the ability to maneuver the containers that do not already have to maneuver their containers. They can bring smaller bags or items, leave them at curbside on the morning of pickup. Many of those bags are recyclable bags, and it's my understanding that under this article, or in conjunction with this article, there was going to be a supplementary container in a form of a plastic, non-recyclable bag that would be offered, albeit at a fee, but even if it was offered without a fee, would still be a non-recyclable bag, and I'm not quite certain as to what limitations that would be put on the ability to use those if no fees were provided, if no changes to the bylaw were made.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yeah, with my final comment.
You have 7 seconds.
Yes, I'm supportive of this initiative, but confused about how I can vote for it without understanding the bin dynamics. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blyer in the yes line.
Vicki Blyer, Precinct 9. I would like to remind everybody that tens of thousands of families across Massachusetts live in towns that use mechanical waste collection. These problems that we're concerned about have been worked out over decades. I think Wellesley has been doing it since before I ever owned a house. So I think we need to trust that we've elected our select board members. We elected them because they're not wild and crazy people, and because they do like to make good and well thought out decisions, and they're smart. So I think we have to not be afraid here, and we should move forward. The handwriting is on the wall. The handwriting is on the wall. So let's stop fretting, let's trust, and let's do it.
Thank you. And Ms. McKenna in the no line.
Don McKenna, Precinct 6. So this article is literally putting the cart before the horse. There's a lot of concern about the implementation plan. One size does not fit all when it comes to trash on a variety of points. But I believe the select board should actually develop and vote on implementation first. Once we do that and we know what the right plan is and it accommodates a different need, then we can move on this article. I also want to point out to people that this 1.204 million is equivalent to the Article 4 amendment that I've put forward, and it's coming from the same place, free cash. There's no need that we have to do this year because we are not changing our trash contactors this year. So I am suggesting that we vote no on this year, and that we can develop that plan and come back as appropriate. I urge you to vote no and turn to Article 4, and I'll just leave it very simply. Fund teachers or fund trash bins? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shapiro with a question.
Peter Shapiro, Precinct 4. Through you, Madam Moderator, to the proponents of this. I think I've been persuaded through the FAQs and interactions that we've had that this change is inevitable, but I'd just like to check a couple of points on that. First, why are we persuaded that the haulers that say they're moving to automated should be considered credible when they tell us that? Why should we believe that they're going to do that, given that there are still some towns which will stay with manual?
Ms. Peard.
So I think another piece of just the haulers saying they're doing that is also the prices that reflect their desire to move away from it, of just seeing the gaps in neighboring communities between the automated versus manual. There's much higher cost to them to provide multiple employees and do that manual process. And so the efficiencies is something that they want to move towards, and that's reflected in the prices we're seeing.
Mr. Shapiro.
So following on that, what would be the consequence if we followed Don McKenna's advice and postponed approving this for, let's say, another year till 27? Would that affect our flexibility or cost? What would be the result of delaying for a year?
Ms. Peard.
Going to recognize Mr. Bartha.
Madam Moderator, through you.
Yes, Mr. Bartha.
I want to answer a different question first that wasn't asked, and that's to share. There was a question about the credibility of the haulers, and I want to share an experience. 3 or 4 years ago, the town of Danvers went through a similar process. You heard earlier that 2 haulers were asked to provide manual collection costs in Lexington. They both did, but made clear in that process that they were moving away from that. We were able to obtain pricing from 5 vendors. We asked all 5 vendors for manual prices. 4 of them would not provide us a manual price. The one that did took their automated price and literally multiplied it by 2. And that was their manual offer. We went through a very similar process, purchased bins through a town meeting appropriation so that we didn't have to amortize the cost of them into the subsequent contract. The $1.2 million that's being requested here is a one-time revenue being used for a non-recurring expense. And I would also like to recognize the DPW director to talk a little bit about the lead time and process that goes into putting a contract in place for this, so that we're not caught in a position where we're having to make changes on the fly.
Can we do that after Mr. Shapiro has finished asking his questions?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr.
Yeah,
Shapiro.
so I'm not sure that my question was really answered. What's the consequence of if we were to delay this or say no now, but we'll take it up in 27, would we lose flexibility? Would our costs be higher? Would there be a risk to our rebate from the state? What are the risks there, or are they really risks and we could delay without real consequence?
Mr. Pinsino.
Madam Moderator, certainly the cost could be higher as we've seen prices just keep escalating. So delaying the purchase, we would be open to that. If we did not have a funding source for that, I think as Ms. Peard mentioned, then we would have to have the hauler provide carts if we were not able to get manual bids, and that was the direction that we had to go in. Those carts would then become amortized as part of their collection cost, which that cost would then escalate as well. So what we're trying to do is stay ahead of those costs and still, looking for flexibility in the program. We feel that it would be prudent to have that appropriation in hand and then be able to work with the community to come up with a program that will work for the community in order, and then have the ability to go ahead and act on that. And that's why we're looking for the appropriation now as opposed to a year or two when that contract runs out.
Mr. Shapiro.
So, Madam Moderator, to follow on to a point made by, an observation made by Todd Berger about the wastefulness of disposing of perfectly good bins that just don't happen to be the ones that are standard from the town. Many folks, including myself, have a 32-gallon toter with wheels, very solid, very sturdy. And I happened to randomly hit on Somerville, New Jersey, where apparently they do have automated collection, but the town residents can use their own bins as long as they're sturdy and right configuration. Are we sure that we can't have a plan where some residents can keep their current bins if they're sturdy, right configuration, and more or less the right size?
Mr. Pinsino.
Madam Moderator, so the majority of the haulers have indicated they prefer a standard bin for a few reasons. One, it's just easier for them to identify and to pick up, works well with the equipment that they have. The other thing is that if the bins are owned by the residents, and then there's damage to them, they are not going to be responsible for that damage, because the recommendation would be to have the standard bin. There may be some bins out there that, you know, are a little more durable, but the ones through the program and research that we have done is they specifically make these bins for that. I can tell you where I live, I've had my bins for over 15 years, and I haven't had to replace anything, wheels, covers, anything on them. So they are made for that particular operation.
10 seconds, Mr. Shapiro.
Then I guess I better just say thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bartha.
I said what I was going to say through the
Oh, okay. I
question
thought
from
you
Ms.
had.
Green. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Abalone in the yes line.
Bob Abalone, Precinct 8. I feel this change is long overdue. I've been wanting to see this for quite a while. I see this in other communities and wonder why my hometown doesn't have this. I do spend time in Florida in the winter, and they all have this program. It works very smoothly. The current recycle bins, which have no wheels on them, and in my case at least, I need 2 of them every week, and I have to drag them out, pick them up and drag them out. It's very dangerous in the winter, as opposed to a barrel that would just roll out. My elderly neighbor wouldn't participate in recycling for this reason, because there weren't wheelable barrels available. So I think you'll get greater participation in the recycle when this program goes into effect. I'm always telling my constituents I'm looking for ways for them to save money, and this will recoup the cost very quickly. It is unfortunate that you recently bought a new barrel and have to be disposed of, but it's not going to be of any cost to you. The other thing I would add is this, I think it was mentioned in the presentation. It's dangerous for the workers to be having to go and haul these barrels out manually. This will make it more safe for the workers, and I don't know if a worker were to get injured in the job, would Lexington be culpable for that? I think I said what I want to say. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Mr. Radulescu-Banu.
Thank you. Andre Radulescu-Banu, Precinct 8. Madam Moderator, we already heard from two people, from Ms. Vida Batarina-Horn and from public speaker, that they would have great difficulty with these standard barrels. Whatever we do has to be something that works for all the residents, not for a majority of the residents. So even though this is a majority vote, please think of your neighbor and other people that might struggle with this. And I want to say there have been other examples on the TMMA list of people that said they would struggle with these standard barrels. And I can say that in my family, with my 2 in-laws, when we go on vacation, they struggle with these big barrels. So I spoke on my way here with another neighbor, and I told her about this article. I asked her, what does she think? She lived in California for a while. She said it's a nightmare when you move to a house in California. You have to hire a private hauler because you cannot put the trash at the curb because it doesn't fit the side. So there's got to be a solution that works for everybody. I also want to respond to some of the other things discussed about the mechanical collection. It's not been mentioned here, but our trash collectors actually have already a mechanical collection that works with all the barrels. There's an arm which just clamps from both sides and puts it up. A person has to assist from the back, so that is a difference. But this can be done, okay? I also want to say about robotic arms. I'm a robotics engineer. I love technology. I thrive on technology, AI, but technology breaks. We've seen it in the very presentation right here. The YouTube broke down. Somebody had to read from the notes. It wasn't supposed to break down, but now multiply this to all the houses in Lexington and the trash. Trash is a basic service that we need to be able to provide to the residents. I understand it's costing more. We've got a big budget. We have other big expenses. We just approved a big high school. Our taxes are very high. There should be enough money in the budget to pay for this. With a big market, let these trash haulers propose to us. We're going to find somebody to provide this service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Baker in the no line.
Madam Moderator, Masha Baker, Precinct 7, I call the question.
Okay, folks. So Ms. Baker is indicating that she's heard enough debate, and we're going to take a vote to see if you agree. This will require a 2/3 majority, so we'll pause while staff prepares that voting screen. And we'll preserve the folks in line just in case. The question comes on closing debate. A yes vote means you are ready to close debate. A no vote means you want to continue debate. And please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback. Is there anyone who needs to vote by voice in the hall? And for my folks who are remote, if you need to vote by voice, please unmute yourself in Zoom and get our attention by speaking out. No one needs assistance? Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 116 having voted in the affirmative, 51 in the negative, and 14 abstaining, the motion carries and by more than the necessary 2/3. Mr. Sandine, do you all have any final comments before we move to a vote?
Madam Moderator, I'll defer to Ms. Peard.
Ms. Peard.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The final comments I'd leave you with, I think there were some great questions about kind of what happens after this passes. If it passes, and I want to emphasize the flexibility and continued outreach. We've seen a lot of communities have options for one bin size, and residents can opt in for a smaller bin size, and we're exploring things like that. We really want to design a program that works for everyone. We're going to continue talking to older residents, those with disabilities, to make sure we're designing a program that fits for everyone and remains convenient and a high level of service. So I hope you'll vote yes for this article and allow us to design that program more completely. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're now going to prepare for a final vote on the motion under Article 23. We'll let staff prepare that. All those in favor of the motion under Article 23, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. If you need to vote by voice, if you could get my attention now, either by unmuting yourself in Zoom or standing in place. Standing in place if you're in the hall. Won't work if you're home. Everybody good? Folks at home good? Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 143 having voted in the affirmative, 29 in the negative, and 9 abstaining, the motion carries. The meeting is now open on Article 31, Amendment, Chapter 90, Section 9, Regulation of Refuse Disposal. The motion is the revised one before you, dated March 30th, 2026, and on file with the town clerk. Please make sure that you are familiar with this revised motion. Ms. Kumar for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
And now we will view the video presentation.
Hello, my name is Maggie Peard, the Town's Sustainability and Resilience Officer. I'll be presenting on Article 31, an amendment of the Regulation of Refuse Disposal Bylaw. Article 31 asks town meeting members to vote to amend the town's Regulation of Refuse Disposal Bylaw to permit the Select Board to impose reasonable fees in connection with the disposal of waste and to update and modernize the language in the section. This article is stemming from years of work from the Waste Reduction Task Force that has resulted in the task force bringing forward a series of recommended changes to the waste collection system in Lexington. The language of the bylaw as it currently stands states that the Select Board shall provide a suitable place or method for free public disposal for residents to deposit ashes, cinder, paper, and other refuse and rubbish. As you can hear from the language alone, this bylaw is quite outdated. It was composed many decades ago. It also does not reflect the current reality. As you will see later in this presentation, waste disposal is not free for residents. It is paid for by residents' taxes. And as mentioned on the previous slide, the town is exploring changes to the waste collection system to protect against rising costs and to reduce waste. While the new program is not finalized, the current bylaw language will likely be incompatible with the future program design. Therefore, we are recommending amending the bylaw now to enable a more streamlined implementation process for a modernized program. Additionally, it is important to note that the current bylaw is not informed by or even aligned with any Mass DEP regulations or other state guidance. In fact, it is incompatible with many of Mass DEP's recommended waste management best practices. Before diving into the proposed changes, I will explain why we need a change to our waste collection program. Waste disposal capacity in Massachusetts is severely limited. Of the 20 landfills that were open in 2003 across the state, 10 of those have already been closed, with the others scheduled for closure or nearing capacity. Lexington is already feeling the effects of this state context. If you've been paying attention to our municipal budget over the years, you may already know that the rising waste collection and disposal costs have been creating a strain. This chart shows the different elements that make up that budget, including trash and recycling collection and disposal, bulky item disposal, and compost collection. In just the past 5 years, the town has seen a 67% increase in waste-related costs. This translates to the average household paying $143 more for waste services through their taxes than they were 5 years ago. It will be almost $360 per household per year in fiscal year 27, compared to $215 per household per year in fiscal year 22. Those figures are of course just averages that vary in reality based on your tax contributions. While we are looking at a range of cost-saving approaches, waste reduction is the strongest line of defense against rising costs. The waste disposal costs shown on the last slide are determined by a per-ton tipping fee. Tipping fees have been rising steadily for many years. Our projected fiscal year 2030 tipping fee will be $115 per ton of trash. The best way to avoid a major waste budget inflation is reducing our total waste tonnage. As such, the Waste Reduction Task Force has put forward a series of recommendations to reduce waste and keep the budget in check. The town is looking at our waste collection program holistically to ensure the proposed changes complement each other and still provide a high-quality program for residents. I'll provide a brief overview of what has been proposed. First, expanding our curbside compost program. This program has been highly successful at reducing waste. Our total trash tonnage decreased by over 1,000 tons as the program grew over the last few years. This is a highly significant reduction when our total tonnage before was around 9,000 tons. With only a third of the residents participating today, there are still serious gains to be realized by expanding the program further. Next, we are looking into transitioning to automated trash collection, which many of our neighboring communities have already embraced,
as haulers have begun to phase out manual collection offerings. This transition would involve the town providing a new trash and recycling cart to all households that is compatible with a mechanized arm. Accompanying that change would be a system for dealing with excess waste beyond the provided bin. More explanation to come on this. Town meeting and the select board have already approved a bulky item fee structure to go into effect July 1st of this year that has resulted in a $180,000 reduction in the waste budget for fiscal year 27. Instead of all taxpayers paying for this service, regardless if they use it or not, residents will only pay for the service as they use it. Bulky item disposal will still be available to residents. Finally, to support waste reduction, the last proposal is to increase the accessibility of waste diversion opportunities like special recycling drop-off, donation, reuse, and more. All of these proposals have been informed by experts at Mass DEP and several rounds of public forums and community input, as well as by the town's zero waste plan. The updated waste collection program is still under development with community input, and all final decisions will go through the select board with plenty of opportunity for public comment. That being said, we know the program will include all households being provided a new trash and recycling cart that will be picked up every week with no fee. Excess trash beyond that first cart may incur a fee. This could be in the form of an annual fee for a second cart or the purchase of approved program bags for overflow trash that could then be picked up with curbside collection. This kind of volume-based program is very common and has been adopted by many of our immediate neighbors. In fact, nearly half of Massachusetts cities and towns use some kind of volume-based fee structure. According to rigorous data collected by Mass DEP, it is the single most effective way to reduce municipal solid waste, as it leads to an increase in recycling, diversion, donation, and composting. On average, municipalities see a 32% tonnage reduction after implementing a volume-based fee structure. This reduction would have saved almost $250,000 in tipping fees in fiscal year 26 in Lexington. That would have been 5% of the waste budget in a year the budget increased by 13%. Now that you understand why the town is exploring changes and what form those changes are likely to take, I will share the language of the motion. The new bylaw eliminates the word free, it modernizes the terminology, and ensures all programs follow state laws and regulations. A recent amendment to the bylaw language explicitly states that all dwelling units will continue to receive a baseline level of municipal curbside collection consisting of one standard town-designated trash cart without a separately assessed fee or charge. The select board would be allowed to impose reasonable fees only for disposal or collection in excess of that baseline level of service. If Article 31 passes, this is far from the last time the community will have a chance to weigh in on the program development. The Waste Reduction Task Force will continue its community outreach to inform our proposed program design with support from Mass DEP. The Select Board would ultimately vote on the program design, which would provide another opportunity for the community to weigh in. If a program design is approved, the town would apply for a Mass DEP grant to support program rollout. This application requires a very detailed implementation plan. If everything is approved, staff would prepare for program rollout in July of 2027, including extensive notification of what residents can expect. If Article 31 does not pass, the town will not have the ability to implement proven waste reduction strategies that will help keep the municipal waste budget in check. As stated throughout this presentation, community input will remain central to this process. Already, the Waste Reduction Task Force has hosted over 12 community forums and presentations. We have fielded dozens of direct emails, phone calls, and conversations with residents. We have collaborated closely with committees and community organizations to gather additional feedback and inform the public about the process. Information has been available on the town website, sent out in various newsletters, and promoted on social media. You can expect plenty more of these outreach efforts to come. Thank you for your attention to Article 31, and please stay engaged with this important effort.
Thank you. For the Select Board, Ms. Kumar.
Madam Moderator, Article 35 proposes an amendment to Chapter 90, Section 9, Regulation of Refuse Disposal. that would modernize the language of the bylaw and permit the Select Board to develop a program that ensures that every household continues to receive a baseline level of no-fee trash collection and provides the town with flexibility to respond to rising costs and evolving state requirements. The need for this article stems from the rising cost of waste disposal and regional capacity constraints. Therefore, the need for development of an updated waste collection program that would help reduce waste and protect the municipal budget from rising costs in the waste disposal industry. This article would enable the Waste Reduction Task Force to present a full waste collection program proposal for approval by the Select Board. The Select Board unanimously supports the passage of Article 31.
Thank you. Mr. Michelson, for the Appropriation Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just a note to town meeting that the motion has changed since our original report was written. Now with the addition of the baseline level of municipal service, our committee is 9-0, a recommendation in support of this motion.
Thank you. Mr. Rossi for the Commission on Disability.
Madam Moderator, the Commission on Disability unanimously opposes passage of Article 31. A community's curbside trash collection often provides valuable insight as to the needs of that community. The items an individual places in his or her non-recyclable trash is often not discretionary. Disposable diapers, bandages, gauze, soiled mattresses, medical supplies, product packaging, and even used food containers are often used out of necessity for the many individuals in our community burdened by short and long-term disability. Fees cause too many disabled individuals to have to choose between groceries, prescriptions, heating oil, medical supplies, health care, and other necessities. The Commission recognizes that there is no practical means for a fee-based system to provide fair and comprehensive fee abatement for all disabled individuals, no matter what the criteria. Significant individuals have and will continue to fall between the cracks. They tend to place an undue burden on the disabled individual by forcing him or her to share very private and personal disability-related conditions with an unfamiliar public entity. Disability comes in many forms. Sometimes it's very, very visible. It can affect someone's ability to walk or lift or do other physical activities, but it also can be very non-observable. It can affect cardiovascular health or other renal health or other sorts of digestive problems or mental and psychological problems. It affects the young and the old. It affects both genders and all races. A significant cross-section of our community at one time or another will be disabled, either temporarily or permanently. It's a condition that affects the ability to earn income. It can impair capacity partially or fully, once again, temporary or fully. This commission, members of which have lived in this town, in Lexington, for decades and decades, have resided once again and recognize how historically Lexington has embraced a civic philosophy that essential municipal services are shared collectively and funded equitably through the property tax system rather than pointing fingers or fees at each other because of their diverse needs for basic government services such as trash collection. This sentiment was previously expressed by 10,600 Lexington voters. If I could have that slide raised, okay, if it's available, and enlarged so everyone could see it. In a referendum that was commonly known as the pay-as-you-throw, it saw an exceptionally high 53% voter turnout. This was no state election, no townwide election, just this one referendum had that turnout. And just under 70%, or 6,932 voters, disagreed with the previous town meeting vote on this issue of the bylaw and overwhelmingly rejected pay-as-you-throw. The feedback received by this commission, liaison attendance at the various outreach programs for zero waste causes us to conclude that the consensus of our community on this issue is not changed. If fairness, equity, compassion is an antiquated, outdated bylaw, then I guess our bylaw is outdated. But let us keep it that way. The official Mass DEP waste characterization studies, market disposition reports, and US EPA material flow analysis consistently demonstrate that only a small percentage of materials placed into a recycling bin, particularly plastics and glass, they're ultimately recycled into new products. 90% of the recycled plastics end up unrecycled. They end up in landfills, incinerators, and non-recycled. Over 50% of the glass recycle has the same fate. So to suggest that this bylaw change in any ways affects sustainability, I would state is not accurate. For that reason, the Commission on Disability suggested a no vote would serve the community. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Suzanne Lau with a question. Ms. Ahrens, you gave your committee's position before, so unless you had something else to add. Okay, I listened carefully. Ms. Lau.
Is this on? Yeah. Suzanne Lau, Precinct 9. So I'm actually concerned about the changes that were made to the motion because my first question was, are we being asked to choose the final bin size now? And my understanding is no. But in the bylaw, it says that we will be held to one standard bin size now. So, but the bin size hasn't been decided. So I'm concerned about that because the next suggestion I had is rather than going to a fee-based system, is it possible for us to decide that we could provide 2 bins of a smaller size with no charge?
Ms. Peard or Ms. Kumar.
Madam Moderator, can you recognize Ms. Peard?
With pleasure, Ms. Peard.
So you're correct that the bin size has not been decided, and the amendment to the recent amendment to the motion allows for that flexibility. So if after the outreach, 65 gallons is chosen as the standard size, that would be the baseline, or 35, same thing. Sure. And so, you know, we would make those decisions based on the size of the bin.
But my concern here is that you said that something on the order, I forget the numbers, 40% could do with the smallest size, or maybe another 40 with the next size, and maybe 20% with the large size. So how are you going to come to consensus on what the correct baseline size is going to be?
Ms. Peard.
Yes, so I think a number of factors will come into that. Currently, the town has a bin survey that is out with different bin sizes on display. We will analyze the results of those surveys. We have pages and pages of notes from community meetings we will look at, and based on all of that input compiled, the task force will come up with a recommendation of what bin size, or maybe it's one bin size as a standard, and there's an option to opt down to a smaller size, and we will bring that proposal to the select board, who will ultimately approve or suggest changes to that decision.
Ms. Lau.
So does that imply that the possible automated vendor can accommodate different size bins?
Ms. Peard.
That's correct.
Okay.
Ms. Lau.
Okay, so I've talked about using different bin size. How about, I'm trying to, there's people here in the hall who are opposed to a fee-based system. We're also trying to reduce the amount of trash that we create, but we're using fees to incentivize that because other people have done that. I mean, frankly, I just wouldn't want to have 2 or 3 bins. I mean, all my trash would fit in the smallest one. So my motivation would be not to have the largest bin rather than having to downsize to different bins. So I'm just saying different people are going to be motivated by a lot of different things here. And this one-size-fits-all approach is a little bit concerning. Okay, my other question is, will there be alternatives other than fee-based ones, bags and additional renting of bins? Will there be alternatives for, say, depositing of excess trash, perhaps, at Hartwell?
Ms. Beard.
Yes, we will certainly, we have many solutions currently, and we'll look for expansion of that. So there's a large list of items that one can drop off at Hartwell today. We've discussed adding additional drop-off sites for things like recycling, cardboard, and we will, in the educational campaign, we'll be sure to make all residents aware of other reuse channels, donation sites. So that's a big piece of this, as well as making it as easy as possible to dispose of items in a way that gives it a second life or allows it to be recycled.
You have 7 seconds, Ms. Lau.
Okay, could you also provide some suggestions for accommodations for residents that are not able to handle reeling out the trash bins? I've briefly read about front door or side door pickup that some waste management companies are providing to other communities.
Thank you. Ms. Beard.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. That will be a part of our continuing discussion with our hauler once we go into negotiations for this. Some examples we've seen in other communities. Milton is an example that they have an opt-out of the bin program where you can put out just a program-approved bag. That is something we could ask our haulers if they can accommodate to get around the issue of maybe older residents or those with mobility challenges who cannot wheel a bin. Other solutions would be we'd ask our haulers about any accommodations of placement of bins. So we're not sure everything that is possible at this point, but we're very committed to exploring more possibilities for that.
Thank you. Ricky Papo and the S line.
Madam Moderator, point of order.
Yes.
A number of us, at least 3 so far, have gone into the back because we are unable to get in line, like our things are not working and we can't get in line to ask questions or say yes.
Can you ask the IT staff to help you?
We have been. I just wanted you to know that there's
Okay.
at least 3 people out there not able to, and I don't know.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Ms. Papo.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ricky Papo, Precinct 2. I've lived in Lexington for 50 years, and I've seen many different approaches to trash removal. When pay-as-you-throw was instituted, the main thing I noticed was the immediate decrease in trash in town. It was an effective means to encourage people to consider how they make purchases and how they dispose of an item at its end of life. Making determinations on choosing less wasteful packaging and less plastic while also choosing to find a new home for an item before trashing is beneficial to our community as a whole. Trash removal is not a free service to the community. It is paid for out of our taxes. With the town facing budget constraints, it is prudent for us to make sure we save where and when we can. We know that the cost of trash is climbing very quickly. Soon we will have to pay to have our trash transported out of state, as mass disposal sites are closing, as we saw in the presentation. I think of trash like our water and energy utilities, and I encourage folks to put trash on an equal footing as any other pay-as-you-use services. There is also a social cost to waste removal that we should address. The planet has limited capabilities in dealing with trash. Think the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Some of this plastic trash comes from the U.S. as we collectively try to find places to dump our trash. It is degrading to both the ocean and society. In addition, we currently burn our trash next to other towns, including environmental justice communities that breathe the toxic fumes from burning Lexington's trash. Reducing waste cuts the greenhouse gas emissions generated by producing, transporting, and decomposing materials, keeps methane out of landfills, and reduces the energy needed to manufacture new goods from scratch. Lexington has always acted with great care to address environmental issues. Waste reduction, proven to be the outcome of metering trash, is an effective method to continue our commitments that we have made. Lexington is a community that others look to for inspiration. Now we have the opportunity to join our neighbor communities by passing Article 31. I trust our Select Board and our Waste Reduction Task Force to make decisions that will take into consideration the needs of all of our residents. Please vote yes on Article 31.
Thank you. Could IT staff give me an update on what's going on with the folks who can't get in line? Mr. Pato, do you have an update? Okay, okay. What I'd like to be able to do is to find out who wants to be in which line and add them to the end of those lines right now manually. Do we have a way to do that? Well, I can do it. Okay. All right. So the folks who are out there, who wants to be in the question line? This will be after Mr. Alessandrini. Ms. Strad? Okay, so Ms. Strad, are you waiting for the question line? You're waiting for the yes line. Okay, this will be after Sykes. And if you could have the folks who are out there come out and tell me which line they want me to put them in. Pen and paper, folks, pen and paper. Still works. Who's not in a line, who wants to be in one? Okay, so give me your name and which line you want to be in.
Peter Shapiro in the question line, please.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. You'll be after Mr. Alessandrini.
Gloria Bloom in the yes line.
Ms. Bloom will be after Ms. Strad in the yes line. Anyone else? Was that the only group that was out there in the lobby? I can't hear you.
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
This is Tanya Gisolfi McCready, Precinct 1. I'm on the list, according to my view from home, after Lauren Black and Catherine Yan, also after Alessandrini.
I'm sorry, can you refresh your screen at home?
I did that. And I'm still on there, but there's not, but
what does it say? What does it say at the top of the screen? What article does it say?
Amendment Chapter 90.
Oh, it does. It's just that you're naming people who I don't see in the line other than Mr. Alessandrini, so.
Right, which is why I'm curious that they're on here, and then three of us are here, but you're not recognizing that we're here after Alessandro.
Now I see, yes, I see now. Okay, let me refresh my screen.
And now Pam's on there?
Madam Moderator.
Ms. Strad.
Lexington.townmeeting.online is the thing that's not being able to be reached, and I know that Mr. Pato is looking at it, but I just didn't know if you knew that.
Okay, so the folks who I said were going to be after Mr. Alessandrini, actually it's only Mr. Shapiro, will be after Pam Hoffman. And I'm going to... Yep. Okay, I'm going to call a brief recess so that we can get the gremlins out of the system. Don't go far. Hey folks, brilliant idea. Let's use this recess for the TMMA presentation. Okay, so folks, come back into the hall. You're not going to want to miss this. Folks who are at the cafe, come back into the hall. Return to the hall. Return to the hall. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Higginbotham. I am the current chair of the Town Meeting Member Association, and we are taking a moment tonight, as we do every year, to honor and recognize members who have served in this body as town meeting members for either 30 or 50 years. And this year we have someone who has served for 30, and we have someone who has served for 50. So I would like, as I speak, to invite Judy Zabin and Tony Galatsis to come forward. Tony was just there. Oh, he's here. Excellent. Come stand here, please. Oh, let me say some nice things first, please. Before we give them a full round of applause and honor them with both a certificate and a gold-plated Minuteman pin, I just want to read what is on the certificate that we are presenting to them. And I would, before I read that, just like to say, I'm preaching to the choir, I know, but serving as an elected town meeting member is a big investment of time, commitment, passion, and care for the community. And we don't all agree all the time, but I do believe that everyone here is here because we care deeply about our town and we care deeply about local politics. And I am grateful to all of you, and especially grateful to these two people on either side of me for the time that they have spent. So I'll just read the certificate and then I will hand them to these folks, and then you can honor them with your applause after that. So, this is a Certificate of Distinguished Service. Lexington's Town Meeting Members Association recognizes Anthony Galatsis for 30 years of distinguished service and Judith Zabin for 50 years of distinguished service as an elected town meeting member, and for extraordinary dedication and contribution to town government. Your town meeting colleagues thank you for your enduring civic commitment and for demonstrating the independence and judgment to deliberate fairly for the common good. Thank you very much. Yes, well, they're going to applaud you.
So, update is that we are rebooting all the Wi-Fi access points, which seems to be the source of the problem. So, I'll be giving you another update soon. I understand there are some home-baked goods in the cafe tonight. This might be a good time to partake. Could folks, everybody come back into the hall? So folks, we've been exploring, going back old school, putting you all physically in line here. The folks who are at home are able to put themselves in the queue, but here's the issue. I wanted to try to do that and just to get through Article 31, but we would need to do a roll call vote so that we could record those votes. I know that you and your constituents will want to know how you voted on this, and that alone takes half an hour. So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn until Wednesday at 7:30. We'll set Article 31 on the table, pick it up, God willing. Ms. Hay, for a motion to adjourn until 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 15th. 15th, thank you. We'll meet in this hall and also remotely. Ms. Hay for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Is there any objection? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned.